And we are continuing our discussion. This is the AI for Planet podcast. Elena Tikhonova and Kirill Tokarev are the hosts. Climate change is forcing humans to abandon traditional energy sources, traditional fuels, look for replacement, look for renewable energy sources like solar, wind, water, and others. According to the International Renewable Energy Sources Agency, by the end of 2022, the worldwide generating capacity, renewable capacity, stood at 3,322 gigawatts, with the annual gain of about 10%. And the share of renewables in the overall energy capacity worldwide has increased from 38.3% to 40.2%. Mankind really does need to learn not just to extract energy without harming the energy, but to use it efficiently. And about how artificial intelligence has been helping us with the efficiencies, we're going to hear from Irina Gaida, Deputy Director on the Project Center for Energy Transition in Skoltech. Irina, welcome. Also, Senior Tutor, also in Skoltech, Oleg Khamisov. Friends, just to be clear on the notions, energy transition, just to be sure that we are talking about the same thing. In the opinion of the expert community, what is energy transition? How has the notion been changing over time? Energy transition. Well, yes, energy transition is a sizable change in the structure of capacity, primarily the primary energy generation. This is not the first energy transition that we are having in the history of mankind. We have been abandoning firewood, transitioning to coal, and subsequently to oil and gas, and right now, for the first time, in history, we are talking other energy sources. Now, what sets this transition apart from the previous ones, it used to be about, the motives used to be about using new technologies and economies, the economic benefits. The transition to low-carbon energies, that is more about shrinking the anthropogenic influence on climate. Well, the new technology is also having a hand here. Well, yes. Yeah, but let's touch upon that when we talk about AI here. Well, yes, Oleg. Well, if you talk about the new technologies, and energy transition is, it's about, the emergence of renewables, accumulation systems, and ICT developments. For instance, one of the areas to apply AI is this disaggregation of workload, of capacity. For instance, I've got a house, I've got this meter, flow meter. It is right there at the entrance, 50 hertz. That's the sinus curve. If you look at the data, if we apply the ML algorithm, if I have the iron on, fridge, and perhaps something else, if I forget, having left the house, if I forget whether I left the iron on, I can actually have a look. But then if you look at the, say, natural resource deposits, we have a gas turbine facility. We can use the algorithm to say, not just to say whether it's on or off, perhaps some facility is using more power or less power, and before it actually breaks down, we can identify something wrong happening to a certain manufacturing system. I think we have dived pretty deep pretty early. Let's step back a little bit. Energy transition is about all the energy capacity worldwide. It's about everything. It's about generation, it's about storage, it's about analysis, pretty much everything. Exactly. And AI can be applied everywhere, across the board. What Oleg has mentioned, that's working on two components. Higher efficiency of, say, manufacturing, and higher accuracy in, say, predicting demand. But these are pretty expensive things, because if we talk about decarbonizing, shrinking carbon footprint. A lot of things happen due to breakdowns, due to peaks, when we need to put several things on, the dirty coal mines, dirty coal-firing power plants. And here the artificial intelligence is about managing effectively and efficiently, and it's about managing demand, generation and demand. And generative models can help with changing behavioral characteristics, both on the part of individuals. Well, yeah, why don't we start with the individuals? Why don't we start with the individuals in sorting out this pretty multifactor model? How can AI change my behavior, my energy consumption behavior? Because, I'm aware, I'm woke. What can I change? Well, say the model that Oleg mentioned is going to tell you when you have the peaks, and by informing you, the consumer, that you have the peaks, a toaster, a kettle, and something else. Yeah. Do not use the toaster and kettle all at the same time. Yeah. Because that is pretty harmful, because it's going to make us use a coal-firing power plant. Yeah. In actual fact, this behavioral model factor can be used pretty much everywhere. It's about the routes that we choose. It's about the transportation modes that we use. And if the models can show us the lower carbon routes, so why not? Responsible consumers are going to use them. Why don't we actually walk the chain? Generation, grid, consumer, private, corporate. What if we win-win-win across the chain for all the factors? What can AI do for us across this chain? How do we generate additional value with AI all across the board? Well, what you said is about the smart grids. If we talk about the conventional grid, I'm the consumer, I buy energy, I don't have the options. But if we talk about this communication between the grid and the consumer, two-way communication, then we have the space for rationalization. As Ira said, at the peaks, we need to fire inefficient, pretty dirty coal-firing power plants. And if I'm the consumer, I can lower demand over X number of hours, and I get a discount, or I gain income, and that allows us to lower the use of inefficient and dirty generation. And the actual fact of predicting the peak can also be achieved using AI. If we understand that we are in for a spell of hot weather or dry weather, and if we can expect then the hydropower generation is going to fall, if we use that in advance, we can redistribute, we can bring additional capacity online, a lower carbon additional capacity, without thinking at the last moment, why don't we run the diesel generators on, Tesla vehicles? Yeah, going back to the communication two-way communication between the generators and consumers, can we perhaps talk about additional generation capabilities? Yes, consumers, until a certain volume of consumption, until reaching a certain level, consumers can actually bring capacity back to the grid. And as the first step, it is about actually running the figures. Say, I want to install the solar panels. What is the recoupment period over 10-year horizon? It's not clear what tariffs are going to be over the period of 10 years. It's a stochastic process. A granny consumer will not really want to run the figures and learn sophisticated algebra. We can use AI to help her with that. It's also as important, perhaps, to use AI for another effect. Neural networks are pretty energy-consuming, and they are pretty energy-consuming assets, let's call them that. We're about 3 to 4% of global energy consumption is going to be accounted for by neural networks, and it is about where we're going to get the generation necessary for neural networks. Energy transition is more about decarbonization. conversation. How can we decarbonize using AI? Well, that's about planning. If we plan 10, 20, 30 years out, how do we want the energy grid to look like? How do we bring solar generation into it, etc., etc.? That's a job with a lot of random parameters. We can predict the consumption, but what is the accuracy of this prediction? We can never tell. If the climate stays more or less the same over the next 10, 20 years, we can predict the wind patterns, but again, these are pretty random variables, and it's a pretty long heuristic job where determined methods fall pretty short, or they're going to be not precise enough. And with machine learning, it's much better accuracy, or perhaps combinations of machine learning and scientific models would be much better. Actually, even this level of prediction is a big job that has not been resolved so far. The quality of prediction will determine the quality of decisions, political decisions, also on the level of worldwide climate agreements. If we put aside the use of AI and ML for a while, on the efficiency increases, globally, we are still about using the non-renewables. We are still using the good old coal, oil, and sometimes actually firewood, the notorious firewood. Has AI been helping to transition to new generation? Perhaps you've got new graphic examples. You can run the figures, but that's more about efficiency, effectiveness. AI may have helped with the new models. It may have helped with new spots for placing windmills. But what about the new generation capacity? For pretty much all the cases that you mentioned, and this is another mainstream, actually, the departure from coal, and all the other transitions have been less than quick. And the main concern of the people that are into all these climate things, the main concern is that the energy system that we need to prevent the catastrophic climate change, energy is very, very inert. It's very difficult to change it quickly. And the role of artificial intelligence is to accelerate the creation of everything, be it technologies, be it materials, be it new models. It's about the acceleration. Examples? We've been using all kinds of things, including AI, to develop new electrochemical storage instruments, the materials that help to overcome the main predicaments, the expense, the capacity, the storage capacity, pretty much across the board. We need new materials that will be lighter, that will be better quality, and the AI models, in general, the computer models help to find these models, and this is a great promising area to apply AI here. Is artificial intelligence technology capable using prediction, capable of making energy more accessible? Energy transition is well and good, but then there are Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and I think it's the 7th goal that is about the accessibility and availability of energy for consumers. If we are using inefficient use of fuel, of energy, if we prevent breakdowns, we make energy cheaper. AI is resolving all these. If we have less capacities spinning on idle, if it's just one turbine that's active and 2 are barely working, energy is cheaper. If we can abandon this spending with better prediction, that's a lot of savings, and that translates into this affordability and accessibility of energy. That's what energy transition is also about. Yes, you wanted to say something. Yeah, if we decrease the standby capacity spinning on idle, that is well studied, because we need to respond to any changes on the grid pretty quickly. And AI, one of its objectives is, we have this time series on frequency or on something else. It's not just about neural network using it to give us certain insights. It's about combinations. Yeah, differential equations, yes. And it's not just restoring the whole series, it's a continuous function over time. It's about a certain parameter. How much time do we need for the turbine to react to steam volume changing? And this combination with the models, pretty much off-the-shelf models, AI is going to give good results.
Moving to energy transition. What are the trends right now in energy transition? Do you see right now in Russia and globally? And what are the trends that are going to emerge and even strengthen on the back of the AI? Well, I think I'll start. And obviously the energy transition that just several years ago was driven, first of all, by the financial sector and regulators, partly. Now, in many parts of the world, it is driven by the regulator, mainly Inflation Reduction Act in the US that encourages the localization of the production of the renewable facilities and the development of EVs, and the European regulation was also driven on the backbone of the energy crisis that Europe is facing right now, and we are looking at similar regulatory measures on the developing markets, China, India, Saudi Arabia, Russia. Also is driven to the climate projects and the carbon market by the regulator. Now, that's the first message. The second message is that obviously amid high volatility on energy prices, those energy transition costs that increase your energy security. I mean, if you have some local generation, is one of the ways to ramp up your energy security, is obviously something that's going on top of the agenda, and here the renewable energy is one of the topics. I mean, it's good to have at least some energy from wind than no energy because it's too expensive. At the same time, we see a reverse trend. Even the greenest countries sometimes decide that we should use coal for energy generation. So these are the two ideas that I wanted to share. And I would like to add that trend-wise, the Arctic area development is one of the topics. Bringing diesel fuel there is very expensive. You have to develop that. Either you pay a lot for diesel fuel, or you develop something local, like a small power nuclear power plant. Yeah, like they use drones to deliver batteries there, as one energy engineer was telling me. Yeah, but actually, the wind generation, for example, like how AI helps to select the right materials, creating the petals of the wind turbine. It depends on the material, on the environment. Like if it's too cold, you have to select the proper material. How to make sure that this turbine works in very cold environments, and this is where AI in materials is taking place. Yes, I've read that algorithms were used for calculating the metal alloys that should be used for the petals for the wind turbines. Yeah, and one of the other renewable energy areas of development is like creating tailored solutions like solar panels that can be installed vertically or in shadowed places, or small wind renewable energy plants that can be installed on your balcony. All of these areas, they require quick development, and quick means AI-driven. Friends, to sum it up, I think you have a lot of work to optimize our future and the future of our children, and obviously energy transition is an important part of that work. The energy transition and transition to the renewables, to more efficient market management methods, and like energy market management methods using AI. Do you think AI here is safe because there are natural disasters, climate disasters, or it's just a part of a very long chain that we have to address? It looks quite visionary, but that's our task to make this energy transition and connect and ends here. If you put these questions to climate experts, they will say that we will have to run much faster than the majority of national governments run with, and many big corporations are not that quick, and we're not very coordinated, by the way, because we shy away from the fossil fuel production. At the same time, we do not invest that much in low carbon emission and energy, environmentally friendly energy sources, so we're kind of lagging behind the goals that are put behind by the scientists. At the same time, every 0.5 degrees matter. And we have technologies, we have the resources, and AI is about a more efficient use of the things that we have already, and we have to leverage that, obviously. Thank you. What do you think about that? I'd like to say that the energy grids are interconnected. If our generator in Asia had some failure, we will feel that in Moscow. So there are different thermodynamics and energy grid science problems, and here AI really is the thing to take advantage of, because we can find not only like one solution, we select several solutions, combine them together, and mathematical modeling is really a green field. And I think taking advantage of AI amid energy transition will be a great thing, and we'll have to step up our efforts in AI. Thank you very much. Thank you, Irina. Thank you, Oleg. I think that we have discussed a broad range of topics. We hope that AI will help us to energy transition in terms of energy. And we have the Symformer generated musical pause. And then we're going to discuss how can we use AI to save the coral reefs that we have mentioned before. And these are the fragile things. Stay tuned.